All right, so we're back. I need my phone. I had some thoughts about this truck before we came in today, and I jotted them down on my phone, so I want to read you some of my thoughts. One of them is when I researched some of the fault codes within the flowcharts, time after time after time, they're telling you to reset the cam, the keep alive memory. So that is one thing that we're gonna do. Just to make sure we don't have something goofy going on with memory. The other thing that I want to do is to unplug all 4 oxygen sensors, and we'll probably end up unplugging the EGR and purge valve again too. And I want to revisit maybe this voltage spike thing we have going on. To review, there are 8 components on fuse 42 that are being powered up. 6 of them are outputs, 2 of them are inputs. So the 6 outputs are the evap purge, the EGR, and all 4 oxygen sensors. That's it. And those are all setting circuit faults. The other 2 that are on that circuit is the mass airflow, it's power feed for the MAF, and the brake on off switch, as Ford calls the boo switch. Those 2 are inputs. We're not getting codes for those. The circuit analysis for inputs is different than it is for outputs. Just keep that in mind. I want to see if I can view the output state for these outputs on the scan tool. We did do that with the oxygen sensors, and if you guys remember, I was not seeing heater current on any of the oxygen sensors on the scan tool. I want to look at the purge valve and the EGR for current state on scan data. I'm not sure where we're gonna plug that in just yet, but that is something that I wanna see. I'm concerned about PCM pin contact. However, that is unlikely given that all of these components that are setting fault codes are on the same power feed circuit. So pin contact problem is highly unlikely to be specific to a group of outputs that are powered from the same source. I don't like the spikes we saw that we narrowed in on right away. I don't have an answer for you as to why it did not improve when I ran my jumper to this splice over here. So I did use some liquid tape on that area. I'm gonna tape that up too with electrical tape, but I assumed that this side of the splice goes directly to the fuse, and I could be wrong on that, and that may be why that didn't improve our condition. I'm not sure, but a question I have: when I measured yesterday at the PCM, why did I not see a problem on the control wire for one of the outputs? I don't remember if it was the purge or if it was the EGR, but I was watching the control wire voltage and I didn't see any spikes in that when I ran the key on engine off test. See what voltage we have there. That's the control wire of the purge valve. It is a ground side switch circuit. So with that showing me that kind of voltage, 13.5, the circuit's not being turned on right now. If it was, we'd have some pulses in there. It's ground side controlled. There's no reason that this circuit code should be there. We did see those outputs being controlled and only pulling down to 2 volts. And that's what made me check my computer grounds. And that was both the purge and the EGR, but that may be a design feature. I'm not sure yet. How I want to start with this circuit this morning is I want to disconnect all 4 oxygen sensors. And then I want to monitor for those voltage spikes again. Maybe what we do is unplug the 402s, leave the purge and EGRs plugged in, and EGR, not plural, and then rerun the test and see if the purge and EGR codes go away with the O2s unplugged. I don't know. That's where I'm at. I'm really reaching for a problem here in knowing that the ECM has been replaced a few times. This does look like a newer engine computer, just given the color of it. Like if you look in this area, it's nice and clean. It's not oxidized aluminum. One of the concerns was from the technician that was working on this is, did they just sell me my old ECM back? He actually said that, or did they give me my old ECM back? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, maybe let's reset the cam first. Let's go in and reset the keep alive memory. Computer powers, we need to verify too. Weak battery voltage can be an issue with all of this. You know, that doesn't explain it setting immediately with the engine running though, because you know, you got charging system voltage active during that period of time. All right, so clearing these faults. We're gonna go to functional tests, our output controls. We should have a reset cam. It's not there. Reset keep alive memory, there it is. All right, so keep alive is reset. Let's go to our codes menu, look at memory codes. They should be gone. Yep, just the OBD checks incomplete P1000. Any pending? Nope. And then reviewing the codes. No pending. Yep, just a P1000. Okay. And then what I want to do is plug this MAF in so we don't have codes for that. And then I'm going to start it and run it for a second, see what codes we have. Right now the check engine light is off. Couldn't be that simple, could it? Nah. So only 2 oxygen sensor codes this time. And a theft detected? I didn't have that code before. The 1260 theft detected, EGR and EVAP, and only the bank 1 sensor 1 and the bank 2 sensor 1 heaters. No check engine light on though at the moment. 2-trip detection though for that. The downstream O2 heater codes are not there, but they might be disabled right now. I want to see if my downstream heaters are being turned on. Cold engine startups, they'll delay the downstream heaters sometimes. It says they're on. So this one, this one, this one, and this one. And I have no current flow on any of them. But if you look at the upstream O2 on bank 1, it's functional, moving rich and lean, and it needs to be hot to work. And so that tells me the heaters have to be working even though the current flow isn't there. Absolutely. 2 ones the same way. They're both active. These would be my downstreams. Yeah, and they're working too. Went from 0 volts to 0.7 of a volt in 20 frames. Those heaters are working even though the heaters current flow in amperage is all zeros. We observed that yesterday. Go to my codes. I'm going to clear them with the engine running. So resetting the cam did not help. That was engine running. I cleared codes. The O2 heater codes are gone. Engine running, the O2 heater codes are gone, but I still have my EGR and EVAP fault. Let's see what kind of output parameters that we have. So fuel tank pressure voltage, EV, MV amperage. That's the vapor management valve. EVAP canister vent, CV, I think that's it. I don't even have purge on here. EVAP soak, purge isn't even listed on here. All right, how about EGR? Let's see if we get EGR data. So they're giving me EGR valve regulator percentage. That's off right now. Showing 14 volts, vehicle power, DPF EGR. So data parameters are not gonna help us on those two. Okay, heater codes are back now, all 4 of them. Let's go back. Let's clear the faults. Memory codes immediately after code clear. EGR and EVAP. So the heater codes just take a little bit longer to monitor, which is why they're not coming back immediately. There they are, they're back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then that theft code, that was interesting too. All right, let's shut this off. Going up. Eyeballing these O2 heaters. Ouch! After I get it hot too. That's 1. That's the downstream on the passenger side. 2. Ouch! Burn myself. 3. That's 4. All right, let's come back down. So with the O2s unplugged, what I want to do is recheck my voltage spikes when I run the key on engine off test at the purge valve that we were seeing yesterday. So that was the purpose of that. The other thing I was thinking about as I'm doing this is with the O2s now unplugged, I can take one of the outputs really any one of them, take my test light to battery positive, go to the computer pin, that's the control wire, and use my test light as the load, chapter 3 material, shameless plug, and have the component disconnected, clear the codes, my test light will act as the load and see if I can make individual codes go away. And that can be a way to isolate a computer issue. And if I'm still getting that same code with my test light installed, then it's computer powers and grounds. You know, we could have low voltage coming into the computer and it's messing up its algorithm on how it watches that circuit. But other than that, we're talking about a bad computer here. And this is a really tough call because it's been replaced twice. But like the owner or the garage or the technician said, did they just give him his old computer back after they had issues programming this? And this is something that maybe, you know, we can do here. I mean, we certainly can program forward. So not that I want to do that, but all right. First thing is voltage spikes, and that's going to be at the purge, unplugged on the green wire. We were getting those spikes with it unplugged before. The only output that right now is plugged in is the EGR. So this is the only output right now that's plugged in. Remember, 6 outputs and 2 inputs. All right, need the key on. Key is on. Okay. This is the key on, engine off, self-test. No spikes whatsoever with the oxygen sensors disconnected. Right there's the entire event. The key on, engine off, self-test right there. No spikes. I think maybe what I do, depending on the result of the next test I'm going to do, which is clear faults and see if I only have O2 heater codes, maybe we plug in the O2s one at a time and see which one's causing the spikes. But the spikes are gone. That's interesting. Again, I don't know if I'm chasing a ghost here with these spikes. So let's go to home, scanner. Let's clear these out. And then rerun the key on, engine off, self-test. I shouldn't have an EGR code. The rest of them are all plugged in, unplugged, sorry, except for the EGR. So when I run this test, I don't want to see an EGR code. And the fact that I'm still seeing an EGR code tells me that me chasing those voltage spikes is a waste of time because that's still plugged in. We'll plug this purge valve in just to prove a point. Let's rerun. We'll do 2 things. Clear these faults. And home scope, that's plugged in. This is now going to show a pulse width modulated signal. Key on, engine off, self-test. We'll see it here. Oh, it did not. Why? EGR evap purge. I mean, those codes shouldn't be there. Let's go to the engine computer again. I believe that my purge is this brown yellow down here. All right, on this screen, when I disconnect the purge valve, we're going to see that drop to 0, telling me I'm on the correct wire. Good. So we dropped to 0. I'm going to run out and grab my test light. This is looking like an ECM problem. I can't explain any other reason for these codes to set.
Do you think it's just the same old crappy one?
I don't know. I mean, I definitely need to check my powers and grounds because we could be, you know, something being messed up inside the computer with low voltage on one of the power feeds. So we got to definitely revisit that. I mean, yesterday we only checked the grounds. We never checked the powers. I did have that one scan data capture that showed me 14 volts on the vehicle power, which is right, but that's only one. All right, so down here, I'm going to connect my jumper wire to my pin. It's on the brown yellow purge control wire. Jumper wire to the pin. Other side of the jumper wire to my test light. We're going to watch my scope jump to 12 volts.
Should that be lighting?
It won't light right now because there's no ground. Ground side switched. So what I've done if you take a step back for a second and get the whole circuit in picture, what I've done is I've connected battery positive through a load, which is my test light, which is substituting the purge valve completely. It's unplugged. We're not relying on the power side of the circuit at all. Fuse 42 that feeds everything else. We're going right to the battery, right to that output. Control wire on the PCM, right? This is the switched side. The jumper wire is going to be the switched side of the circuit. That's why we're reading 12 volts right now, because I still have my pin in there. And I'm going to clear these codes and rerun this key on engine off test. The purge valve code should not be there. If it is, I am no longer worried about the voltage spikes that we saw on fuse 42. I'm no longer worried about fuse 42 and the feed for all these circuits all together. And we now will focus on this PCM. That's really where I'm at, because I'm taking fuse 42 supply circuit out of the picture on the purge circuit with my test light. When I run this key on engine off self-test, it should turn the purge, it should turn the light on. I don't know why I didn't have activity though on the last one. Let's clear the keep alive memory too. Key on engine off self-test. This test light should light during this test. This test light should light. There it is. There's your output control. It's lighting that test light because it's grounding the circuit, and I have an evap purge control fault. That shouldn't happen. Let's do the same thing with another output, which is my EGR. So EGR valve regulator. This looks like a faulty ECM, Danner. It looks clean though. It doesn't look oxidized. You know, that looks like a newer unit. Mm-hmm. But what I just did to isolate, like I unplugged all 4 oxygen sensors. I got no more spikes on fuse 42 circuit, which is nice. And I'm like, okay, cool. So if that's the case, then I should be able to get rid of my purge and my EGR codes. I can't. Spikes are gone, but I can't get rid of those codes. And then I followed that up with I disconnected the purge, installed my test light in series, and connected to the purge line at the computer, so using my test light to substitute, which works like 99.9% of the time. As long, you know, current flow might be a little different, but it's looking at voltage. And I did the key on engine off test. It lights the light, so the driver works, still sets the code, still sets the purge code. So I'm gonna do the same check with the EGR and the same check with one of the O2 heaters with my test light, just to see if I can make them go away. I can't make them go away. I'm no longer worried about fuse 42. I am worried that maybe we have like a low voltage input on one of the power feeds for the computer. I checked the grounds yesterday, the grounds were good.
And it's maybe comparing
the two, and then the comparative circuit's off, but you would think it'd be more than just that one circuit. I don't know. This looks like a faulty module, and I can't explain it, you know, on why I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
And it's tough to make a call on a car and say the module's bad when you get a car that's been at 3 different shops and has claimed to have 3 different modules already put in it.
2 different.
2 different ones. So original one was removed. They replaced
that one, then replaced it again.
But the 2 times they replaced it again was for RAM codes, correct?
No, they replaced it the second time because of the RAM codes, and then once they put the second one in and programmed it, then all the original codes came back. And that's why he was like, did they send mine out to get rebuilt? You know what I mean?
So original one had this problem. Second one, when they put it in, had a bunch of RAM codes and did not have this problem, but probably wouldn't have started.
Yeah.
And then the third one, or not really third, well, it is 3 different modules. Original, second one with RAM codes, back to this one, but this could be the original.
I mean, if it took that long to get it, did they send his out to a company
and they didn't fix it?
They didn't fix it? You know what I mean? Like maybe, you know, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I got a few more steps I want to do before I make the call, but it's looking like it. But I got a few more things I want to do. Powers and grounds. I want to do the same check on a couple more outputs and see if I can make that code go away on any of them. You know, and then if I can't, I'm completely disregarding the supply circuit 42.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, you've bypassed it how many times,
Yeah.
and it hasn't changed.
Right. All right, so I need a diagram for the EGR valve regulator so I know what pin to go to. So EVR is right next to the map, violet and white. Where was my purge? I think it's a different connector. Violet, white next to a blue, green. Gray and violet is 70. It's the bottom connector, same connector, because there's gray, violet right on the corner, which would be 70, pin 70. And the EVR is violet, white. Violet, white is EVR. Okay, first thing is, I want to make sure I have 12 volts there, and I do. I don't have my jumpers connected at the moment. And if I reach over and unplug the EGR valve and regulator, this voltage should drop to 0 if I'm on the correct circuit. There, and it did. All right, so same test. I'm now going to put my jumper on the pin. This is going to read 12 volts. Simulating the EVR, getting rid of the power supply for circuit 42, fuse 42. My test light is now the EVR solenoid connected to battery positive, same test. Let's clear these out of here. I have the purge valve still unplugged. We're not worried about the other codes, the purge and the O2s. Let's also be sure of what we're doing and clear the cam. Then rerun our key on engine off. Self-test, that test light should light. It did not. It may not activate that one unless the engine's running. So a new code, EGR A circuit high, and then our EGR circuit fault is still there. So there's more than one output. Now I have a theft detected code too, this 1260. Don't know why that test light didn't light for that. It should have. Yeah, I just want to make sure that, you know, the EVR circuit, it might not.
Do you have proper contact with the jumper?
I do. Well, it's possible that. No, because when I had it plugged in, it was 12, and I unplugged it, it dropped to 0. So I know I was making contact. Good question though. Let's run that test again. That light should light. It's not. Why do I have a map sensor code now? And I didn't have that before. Are they putting a map sensor in there? Wow. They're using that for a lot of different things. Plug this back in. Leaving it plugged in this time and doing the test. We'll be adding a little more current with the test light, but that's okay. I was getting some other codes with that unplugged that I didn't have before. Let's see what the result of this test. Run it again. Yeah, so the map code's gone, but I still have my EGR circuit fault code, and I don't know why it's not activating that output. No matter for where we are. I'm going to go after one of the heater circuits now. Bottom two in the same connector, gray, violet. And all the O2s are unplugged. Gray, violet, green, brown, right up top. All right, sweet. This would be the upstream O2 heater, which is unplugged. Putting my test light on this circuit. My test light should light. This is the Bank 2 Sensor 1 heater control. As far as the EVR not being activated, I'm not concerned about that. I know that adds questions. There are times that an output control will not turn on when it sees a fault, so that's a variable in there too. And then there's also potential that that circuit is not activated until the engine's running. But I do think I remember seeing a waveform on this EVR control when I did it yesterday, but I'm moving away from that. I'm not going to try to answer that question because we have multiple issues and I don't have to. All of this is related, so I'm not worried about one specific output.
How come it just blinked once real quick?
When I cleared the faults, that driver probably activated, so it should activate again. There's your heater like turn on. It was momentary, real quick. Surprised at how quick that was. There it was again. That kind of matched our spikes, you know, at the end where it activated the heater. So the 2-1, yeah, all my O2 codes are back. I'm going to move down to the 1-1. We'll do the same check. I can't get rid of the codes no matter what I do. We'll see that light. There it was. Yeah, I believe those voltage spikes we were seeing was all of the oxygen sensors just being turned on, and I still have a 1-1 heater code. I can't get rid of these. So last step before I make the call is my main power feeds, because we already checked the main grounds. We can double check that again, but that is exactly what we are doing. Powers and grounds. I got to make sure that I don't miss any. Pretty sure it's just going to be the middle connector. I'm not 100% on that's where our main grounds were. Yeah. All right, so we'll start with the keep alive power. Pin 45 is violet red. Nice and easy. Got 12 volts on that. 1192. Let's hook up a second. I was going to say a second channel so we can compare, but no. Well, just to answer any questions we can. This will be for those that want to know the voltage difference between fuse circuit 42 and these other computer power feeds. So I'm going to pull in a second channel so you guys can watch that. I believe I don't need to worry about that any longer given the tests that I did with my test light. I believe we're completely away from that circuit as a cause, but I'm just doing this just to add some emphasis on that this is not our problem area. So I'm just gonna go, I can go to the mass airflow sensor, which is right here. If you guys remember that green wire is part of that fuse 42 circuit. And so my green trace then will be circuit 42, and my yellow trace is my main feed into our engine computer. And I have about a 4 millivolt difference, 1188 to 1192. That is not going to be an issue whatsoever. So moving on, that one's good. That's my keep alive power, KA power. 2 more V power circuits. That's where I was getting the voltage on the Scantle, I believe. That's 35 and 36. They're violet and white. 1195. $11.95. Yeah, we're done. There was 2 main power feeds that were hot with the key on, 4 main grounds, and then 1 keep alive power. Let's see where these violet whites. The keep alive power, that also feeds the vent valve, and that one's hot all the time. And this one, the violet white's gonna be hot with the key on. So we have your ignition feed. Yeah. And that comes from the PCM power relay. Danner.
Yeah.
I'm making the call, man.
It's a computer?
Yeah. I have no other checks that I really can think of that I can do. It's always hard to call a computer.
I hate that. I hate calling them.
Especially when it's had, two computers put in it. Granted, the second one having a programming error, but like he said, we don't know. Like, we need to know.
Is there any questions? Is there any questions you want to ask this guy?
I want to know when this problem started. What was done? When did this problem start? And how sure are we that this is not the original computer that's back in it? Those are really my only 2 questions.
Do you want to talk to him at all?
Yeah, sure. Dave, hey, it's Paul. Good, how are you? Hey, I think I was saying on camera too that you can feel vindicated in what you've done so far. Yeah, I mean, because I'm in the same boat you're in now. And so what I want to know is, when did this problem start? Would be helpful if you know that. Okay, all right, repeat that. So it was 6 months ago the guy brought you the car?
Initially 6 months ago with the codes for the heaters and EGR valve.
Yep.
And then initially I found there was the engine harness where it plugs into the EGR, and also at the mass airflow, all the insulation had come off the wiring.
Yep.
So I repaired the pigtails at that point, cleared the codes, and then they immediately came back. So at that point, I told him it was probably going to need a wiring harness and probably shorted something inside the PCM.
Right.
Anyway, the chains were making all kind of noise. We pulled the engine out, we put chains, oil pan gasket, all that stuff on it.
Yeah.
Iron harness, put it all back together. The new PCM in it, codes were gone for about 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah. So then he calls me and says it's shutting off and the check engine light's on.
Mm-hmm.
And I have those codes at the shop. I'm not there to get them right now, but it had something to do with like the RAM. I forget. Some programming wasn't correct.
But it was good for 3 months with that other module.
Yep. A reman, Wilson, from Ford.
Yep.
So I took it to Ford for the warranty claim. They said whoever programmed it didn't do it right, charged me to reprogram it. Blah, 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 blah. He took it. Same problem. Waited, 4 months for a computer. They put another PCM in it.
Holy crap.
Brought it back to the shop. Sat there for 3-4 weeks. I go to start it up. Boom, check engine lights on. I pull the codes. I have the same codes I initially had before they changed the second time.
Right. Yeah, so I'm if it makes you feel any better, I'm in the same boat. And I initially, I'm looking at circuit 42, fuse 42, which feeds all of those. And I'm seeing voltage drops like as I'm running the key on engine off test, because I'm scope testing the lines. And turns out those spikes in voltage are just the O2 heaters being turned on and off. It's not an issue. I verified that all of the wiring, and all the control signals are valid right at the engine computer too. There's no reason that these codes should be setting. I even went so far as to unplug the purge valve and run my test light in series to the computer pin that controls the purge valve, totally isolating circuit 42, using my test light as the load, and watching the test light turn on and turn off and the key on engine off test, but it still sets a purge valve code. Like, it shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
I'm literally out of options. Computer powers and grounds are all good, of course. I checked those too. I even ran like a jumper wire to a different part of that fuse 42 circuit, just to add like extra voltage to see, if there was some corrosion. None of that's the case. I have nothing left but to say this ECM's faulty.
Yeah.
And I know where we are, and that doesn't make sense. I like the fact that you found a shorted harness, which was, I believe, the initiation of all of this. And I like the fact that you fixed that and then replaced the computer, and it was good for 3 months. I did find, as I was searching last night, one other post, because I'm reaching for stuff, on Google, that this guy had the exact same thing you described. He found chafing in the harness somewhere, fixed that, but he still had the problem, and then he had his computer rebuilt and all was fine after he was done. So the fact that you had the same thing that I read online another guy had makes me feel a little better, but not really, because this has already had 2 modules put in it,
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And I don't have, I legit have no other checks that I know of to do on why these circuit codes are setting. You know, I even went so far as to unplug all 4 oxygen sensors in case we had a voltage drop problem. I was like, all right, well, I'll eliminate the O2 heaters completely, and then the purge and EGR shouldn't set faults, and yet they still do, you know? No voltage spikes left on the circuit, still setting circuit codes, even compared vehicle power to the computer compared to circuit 42, fuse 42, and they're within 4 millivolts of each other. So there's no reason these codes should be setting. And I have no other, oh, there's one other piece is on the scan tool. The O2 heater current flow does not show at all. I don't know if you know.
That's what I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that.
It shouldn't be like that. And it says the O2 heaters are on. And the other thing that you'll notice is when you first start it, I mean, within 20 frames of data, my O2s are up and running. So the heaters have to be working, yet the scan tool is not reporting O2 heater current flow. So again, that points to an ECM issue as well. So, I mean, I think you can feel vindicated in where you are. I think that, you know, this is where we are. We both need to make a decision on, you know, rolling the dice here. I don't think we're really taking a chance. I've covered all my bases, you know, and so have you.
So I initially turned that PCM back into Wolfson Wind for that problem.
Yeah.
I got a second PCM after waiting forever to get one.
Yeah.
Okay, so then when I reordered it, they couldn't get one because they didn't have any cores to rebuild. I had sent that one back. I get it back. I'm thinking I got my original PCM back, rebuilt.
So you think it's possible this ECM that's back in here is the original one that they rebuilt and maybe didn't fix?
That's what I'm leaning. That's a crazy theory I have going right now.
I mean, listen, that's the only one that, in my opinion, truly makes sense. The follow-up computer, what that runs for 3 months and then sets RAM codes, is not a programming problem, clearly, you know, because how do you say he programmed it incorrectly when it ran fine for 3 months? You know what I mean? That's just a weird statement. So how did it work again with the potential of having the old original computer?
Because they didn't have any cores. They didn't have anything to rebuild, and he's thinking that.
I call Ford right now and ask for a computer. They say, we're looking for cores. We can't get you one until we can find a core.
Okay.
So by the time the problem popped up with the RAM issue, my PCM had been returned back for a core. I'm thinking it was put through and maybe, you know, somehow that problem got missed.
Yeah.
The output of it's working properly.
I know, I saw that. The output of all of them are working properly. I mean, I slept on this one, man. I pretty much covered all my bases. I think you did a good job, and I understand where you're at, so props to you on that front, man.
Cool. Well, that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it, man. I really do.
All right, Dave. All right, we'll be in touch.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
I like Dave. Dave bought my book. That's how he knows me. I don't know how else he found me, but, you know, Dave's a sharp guy, and we're in the same boat together, and this is a really, really difficult call to make. You guys need to stand by. We will absolutely bring you a finish to this one. All right, Dave, and the rest of you following along, we're doing one more thing, and that is I want to measure current flow on these outputs. The call does not change. We're calling a faulty computer. I just want to make sure that I don't have too much current flow on any of these outputs which maybe was a catalyst for this happening. So I'm going to check all 4 O2 heaters first, and then the 2 solenoids up top. These O2 heaters will be about 1 amp of current flow each. I'm on a 20 amp setting. Okay. Yeah, that one's running at 0.58 of an amp. Let's take this back off. Yeah, 0.58, so nothing wrong with that. It's a little low, if anything. I don't care about low, I was just worried about too high. This is a downstream one. Downstream heater. That one's drawing 1.1 amps. I'm upside down, that's not a big deal. You just invert it, right? Flip it over if you guys want to see it right side up. Yeah, 1 amp of current on that guy, not a problem. White wires are the heaters. Sensor side colors, helps to know that. 0.99 of an amp on that one, less than 1 amp, no problem at all. And then the final one, upstream, half an amp, 0.57. So no excessive current flow whatsoever with those O2 heaters. And it's interesting that all of those outputs are working correctly, yet they're setting these circuit codes. Shouldn't be there, shouldn't be happening at all. And that proves our concept of what we said before, which is the O2s are functioning because the signals started working immediately from startup, and that only happens when the heaters are working. Okay, 2 more checks. Purge valve. Okay, got nothing on that at the moment. We're gonna turn this one on if we can. Let's clear these codes. Now it may not turn this output on with a hard fault, which could explain why we couldn't get the EGR one to come on. Wait, why don't I have any codes? Dude, I have no codes. How do I have no codes? Let me do this key on engine run test, or key on engine off test. While we're doing that, let's watch our amperage. Okay, cool. We read about 1 amp of current from that purge valve. I have no problem with that. I have no codes. How do I have no codes? I didn't do anything. All I did was plug the O2s back in. I mean, I was playing around over there. I never checked pin contact. That changes everything. Hey Danner, my codes are gone.
What?
Yeah. I was just like, all right, I need to do one more thing for this guy, just because. And I wanted to measure current flow on all the O2, all the outputs.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm gonna plug all these back in and measure current flow on all of them. So I lowered the car, plugged all the O2 heaters back in, and went through all O2s. Downstreams are 1 amp, upstreams are about 0.6 of an amp, no problem at all. Come up here to check the purge valve, and cleared the codes to make sure, you know, that because I had no activity, and my codes are gone. Like they're not coming back now. The only thing that I did in between all of that was check the 2 keep alive power, the powers. We might maybe have a pin contact issue at the PCM. I mean, it still could be a faulty PCM, but I am going to go check those pins.
Because you back probed.
I back probed. My codes are this is the first time I've seen it. My codes are gone. Like
didn't he say it sat for a couple weeks and then the codes came back?
No, it sounded like he didn't do anything with it when it sat for a couple weeks. Okay, I got one more output to check, and that's the EVR. That's this guy.
Great.
I'm gonna try something with the EVR unplugged. Let's run the key on engine off test, and it should only have a code for that. I mean, there's multiple circuits in there, so there'll be a couple other codes in there. Weird stuff. All my O2 heater, everything's back now. With that one unplugged. That doesn't make any sense. We clear them. Memory codes, read them. Just the 1000. Self-test. Now they're all back. They're all back. I mean, when I unplug the EGR, and then I'm like, I'm gonna run this test, it should only set for the EGR. Yeah. They're all back. Now they're all back.
What?
yeah. I'm gonna wiggle this connection here for this PCM and rerun this test. I still need to measure amperage on that one, but of all the testing that I've done, I've not had one pass for the key on engine off self-test. Not once have I had a pass.
But it's setting them even before you even do the key on engine.
No, if
No.
it's running it will. Engine off it won't. Yeah.
Yeah, how many pins did you back probe in there?
Well, there's two ignition power feeds and one keep alive power feed. Like
Wonder if
hot
we
all the
just
time.
jam a pin in each one and try your test.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to pull that apart and take a look too, but it bothers me how that all went
Was this
down.
the only one that was unplugged
Well,
or no?
no, when I just did
When
that.
you plugged in the oxygen sensors, then everything was plugged in at that point?
Yeah, yep. And then I cleared the faults and they were gone.
Smack it.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where we are. No. Wishful thinking. Doing something you're not supposed to do. Unplugging with the key on. Wow, those grounds look spread apart. Like big time. They really do. I'm gonna turn this key off. So I'm just looking at the spacing in those guys. Those are my main grounds. Let me pop this cover off. I said that they look spread apart, but those are really fat pins. If you look inside the board itself, on the ECM side over here where my pinky is, those fat pins on the end, on the inside. So I'm not sure that these are spread apart, but we'll try to tighten them up, because just playing around here was the first time that we were able to make these codes go away. There's really no way to tighten this up. Sometimes I'll have like a hole in the bottom that you can bend the clip back up, but this one doesn't have that. Okay, that worked. Pushing on the, should be able to see the difference in the gap on the one I just closed up. So compare that one now with this one, because I just tightened that one. Okay. So to tighten it on this design, you put your pin in this slot on the side and you go underneath this little piece here, and that bends the inside, like spring tension part, back up, both sides. You know, this doesn't explain the heater circuits not showing amperage, like a loose power and ground. I don't know why it reacted for us for a minute and all the faults went away. ECMs can do weird stuff when they're faulty. Modules can do weird stuff. Alright, I know the two purple whites were the ignition. Remember that. Those are on the end. Can I pull one of those out? Yes, I can. Sweet. Oh, that one's tiny. I got no way to tighten that. There's no slot whatsoever. It looks pretty good, too. Just a little tweak. Okay, and what was the other one? Is it that one?
I think so.
Purple red?
Purple and, yeah, it is purple red.
Was the keep alive?
I think so.
Violet red, which is next to a green violet. Turn the key on, clear my faults, do the self-test. They're all still there. Everything's there. It was just weird that the one time, you know, it it wasn't. We had the engine running. Let's clear the keep alive memory. Codes, memory. I'm gonna start it. Yeah, immediate faults. And a theft detected code too, this P1260, which keeps coming intermittently. Calling it, man. Evap and EGR immediately. The O2 heater codes are not far behind. All right, one last amperage check, which is on this EVR solenoid, and then we're done. We're back to where we were. It's a little hiccup in the process. That's a shared feed. Green with a white. We could use that one. All right, so EGR is connected. So let's run the key on engine off test. Let's check the codes first. Our heater codes are going to be here now. Yep. And then the map codes from keep alive memory voltage too low. Didn't have that before. Dude, this 1633 code, that should not be there. 13.8 is my V power volts. That's the two that are ignition power. Be nice if I could see a data PID for my keep alive. I'm still gonna do this amperage measurement, but I just a little sidetracked here. I have no data for the keep alive. Going back to my keep alive power wire. It's 13.8. Nothing wrong with that. Oh, that's gone. All the other faults are back. I think that's maybe a symptom, as well as the theft module 2 theft code of something going on in that board. And that was that after me smacking on it that I had that? Yeah. Weird stuff, man. Keys on. I'll just get an amperage reading on this EGR and we'll call it. Just covering our bases, given the history of this thing. Green trace, yellow trace is just my keep alive. And we'll go scanner and we'll run the key on engine off test while we're watching our meter. No EGR control. Swear I had EGR control before. I'm setting the keep alive memory voltage low fault. That bothers me. Not getting any control on that. I did yesterday, I swear. I'm on the main feed that goes to it, the green white wire. Oh, that's the signal return. You dumbass. I'm meant to be on the solid green wire. One we were checking all along. Why would I go on a different wire? We don't have any amperage here on this damn thing. Yeah, it was like 0.4 of an amp, so let's show that again. We did have some activity there. Let's watch that one more time. Yeah, 200 milliamps. Nothing wrong with that. No excessive current flow to the EGR. But I am now setting keep alive memory error codes that I did not have before. I'm watching the keep alive memory right now. Keep alive memory voltage too low, 1633. What, that code doesn't exist? Oh, P1633, dumbass. DTC will set if PCM detects keep alive power circuit has been interrupted or become inactive. Possible causes: intermittent open shorted power harness to keep alive power circuit, blown power fuses, internal damage, or faulty PCM. Yeah, I mean, I'm monitoring the voltage right now on that circuit. Yellow trace. That is my keep alive power feed circuit. I'm right on the ECM itself, back probing the pin. This really, to me, is an indication of what I believe is going on internal to the board. Is it's using that keep alive power circuit, probably is involved in the output monitor circuits. That shouldn't be there. That's the second pin in on this side. I'm just touching it right on the pin. You see I got 12 volts there too. Things you shouldn't do. Disconnect module connectors with the key on. We're calling the module anyway. And that keep alive power code's gone, but all the other ones are back. All right, we're done making the call. Nothing else I can do. This is the longest video ever, and it's going to be longer. So I know that's not the ending that you guys hoped for with this part 2 video. And Caleb and I wrestled with even releasing this one at all. If you notice early on, there's still leaves on the trees. This is now the end of winter. And so it's been probably 3-4 months since we filmed this. We decided we were going to anyway because there's some really good testing procedures in here. And then we hoped that this owner who found us via YouTube and brought the car to my brother's shop, we hoped that he would get in touch with us after he saw the part 1 or part 2 video. And, you know, that's why we released it. And the cool thing is we haven't released this part 2 yet. We're kind of filming this after. That's confusing for you guys. But the owner contacted me at the end of the part 1 release, which is awesome. So I'm now back in contact with the owner, and he wants to be involved in the final piece when the engine computer finally gets replaced. So that is the call. Faulty engine computer. Very difficult to make that call. Some of the comments that were in part 1 were a little bit disappointing in saying that, you know, I was chasing my tail and things like that. But what you guys need to understand is when you have multiple modules that are setting the exact same codes, just like the Mustang series where we had multiple ignition modules that were faulty right out of the box, it makes you rethink everything, and it makes you sort of chase your tail. But in a sense, it's not that, because we're reaching for things that we missed. What could it be? You know, and that's what you guys watched. So there will be a final part. The issue with the computer is, I guess, back order. Something's going on with warranty stuff too that I'm talking with him about. But we're going to get you guys an update for sure. So Dave, who was the original tech working on it, is actually wanting to be in the part 3 video when we get the new computer in. So we'll get the new computer in, show you guys the fix, and then also we'll revisit one test, which was the voltage pulling down to only about 2 volts on the EGR solenoid and the purge valve, from what I remember. Oh, and then one other piece was scan data. Remember, the O2 heater circuits showed 0 amps on the scan data all the time, even though we know that they were working. We know that those heaters were turning on. So that's another clue too on a computer issue. But I want to read some comments from part 1, and this really emphasizes where we are. Listen to this comment. This is from, I'm not going to say your last name, Arnie, because I'm going to butcher it. But this is from Arnie. As a Ford tech, I have worked on about 15 to 20 Explorers with the same issue. Usually DTCs for O2 heater, purge valve, EGR valve, compressor clutch, circuit faults, exactly what we have. All of them, the PCM failed. On the first one, I had the customer was complaining that the AC would blow hot, check engine light on, and vehicle stalls at times. What I ended up finding was that the control circuits, grounds, for the EGR valve was controlling the AC clutch, and when the AC was turned on, the EGR valve would open and cause the engine to stall when coming to a stop. How freaking cool is that? I would love to have seen that one. I mean, the drivers were messed up. So imagine that, flipping the AC on, and it energizes the EGR valve at idle and then stalls the engine out. That's crazy. Replace the PCM, the faults were corrected. On others, I would replace the PCM, and with a reman PCM from Ford, the fault would go away, but other faults would appear. On one vehicle, I installed 4 PCMs till the last one was good. Ouch. So let's hope we get a good one when we do ours. All the PCMs for these Explorers are now remans, and if the original fault was not repaired, then they will have a fault. And so he's talking about maybe that we did get the module back after they repaired it, but didn't fix the issue, right? Those codes. This one's from John. It says, Paul, I had this problem, and after 3 PCMs, I got a used one and programmed it. You need to, so he's talking about programming now. You need to leave the key off, keep trying it, and then you can write the VIN very easy after your first one. Yeah, so he's talking about the programming. But this guy, John, had 3 PCMs, new PCMs, same problem. He got fed up and got a used one. Ouch. My 06 Explorer had the same codes, EGR purge and all O2s, was stalling at idle. Sounds like the last guy, AC, hit the AC and it would stall because it opened the EGR. Finally, I noticed that the purge valve was energized all the time. Oh, that would make it stall too. It was hot to touch, wires all good, condemned the ECM, the ECM fixed it. Mike O, I have had the exact same problem on an Explorer, same codes. After replacing the PCM with a reman Ford part, it started getting other problems. Cycling the AC compressor when it's off and opening the EGR at idle, same condition. That's crazy. And what I found was once the PCM reached a certain temperature, say 160 degrees, that's when the EGR would start opening and cycle the compressor with codes. Pour some water on the PCM and it would straighten right out. After jumping through hoops with my local Ford dealer, I came to find out that Ford sold the reman rights for those particular Fords to Cardone. Yes, Cardone parts. So basically, the reman PCMs are coming from Napa. That's why we're getting several PCMs in a row that are defective. Good luck, Scanner. So even if we get one from Ford, it's not going to be Ford, maybe, is what it sounds like from that? Ouch. This comment from John Murray says, any chance the resistor in that relay failed, causing voltage spikes, taking out the ECMs? Good thought, John. I'm addressing this one personally. I just thought it was a great question. So the relay, the protection circuits, Caleb, to refresh your memory, there's a relay that closes that powered that fuse 42. And he's asking about the diode in the relay, and they do that to protect the driver for the relay. That is something that we would worry about if the relay driver was failing for that circuit. So that resistor does nothing else other than when that relay shuts off. So that would not be a cause in our case, but good thought. This is from Ben B. He is a premium member. It's just nice of him to comment this. He says, so if it makes you feel any better, I've just made the same exact call for the same exact reason Friday. There are even PIDs that tell you circuit state and they say fault right away. Ours didn't say fault, I don't think. Maybe I missed it. But I didn't want to make a call on the PCM, but I did because I couldn't think of why it would set a circuit fault with the voltage and control at the PCM. Very good, Ben. Plus, bidirectional controls also worked without an issue. Please tell me what you found. I can go to chat on premium side if you don't want to say it here. So he's commenting in part 1, and I messaged him privately and told him that was the right call. He was worried because he knows me and knows my videos. He's like, uh-oh, part 2 coming up. Danner found something. And no, part 2, as you guys saw, we just retraced our steps, proving our concept. And so Ben, nice job on yours too. You made the right call. I'm confident. And again, we haven't fixed this yet. Here's another one. John Newman. As a Ford tech, I've replaced 5 PCMs until I got a good one directly from Ford. Same issue. 5. Keep chucking PCMs at it. Great comment, John. Listen, man, we're in, like, I'm telling you guys, like, this is an issue. We're in deep in this one. right? As far as the way things are gonna go. And I'm going to insist on getting another module if we have the same problem. You guys are seeing that this is a pattern on this vehicle. Special thanks to my community again for this information. It's just amazing to have this. But again, special thanks to the community. You guys are awesome. I can't thank you enough. Really helps me to feel settled inside to know that this is a common issue and that we're on the same path. I'm excited that Dave is working with me and that we are going to get an update. I even told Dave, I'm like, listen, if there's money out of your pocket, because this is tough for garages when we run across things like this. I was like, Dave, if there's something out of your pocket, let me help. We'll split the cost just so we can get this thing done and prove to you guys the concept and what we found, and then just get that customer out of his hair. So again, thank you guys. Dave, thank you so much for being with me on this one. I look forward to our part 3 together. We don't have it yet. It hasn't been filmed. We're waiting for a PCM still. We're waiting for a warranty type thing on the one that he has. And it's gonna be a few weeks. I'm not sure exactly the time frame on when we'll have it, but we'll have it. And so we thank you guys and look forward to your comments. And we'll see you soon.
You almost wipe it.
Yeah. The front tire like kind of kicked out on me. I'm suing. I get hurt, I'm suing, Danner. Ham's just making thumbnails.
You know any cool tricks?
We need Danner's mic so we can go home.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Wipe it up. We want to leave.
I didn't touch it with my baby hand.
Great.
Caleb had me on the little Razor scooter.
Oh, nice. I need to
that's,
charge it.
Well, you can modify those too, man. I modified the kids. I put
I
a
remember you.
48 volt.
Yeah.
I made it 48
That
volt
has
instead of
some kind of
36.
big-
This is my 230 pound on this bike. Okay.